Now, good morning, students. This is the second part of our chapter Deep Waters. Now, we will find out what happens in the later years or after some years, what happens with this writer and how he overcomes his fear of water. A few years later, he came to know the water of the Cascades. He wanted to get into them. Whenever he did so, the terror that had seized him in the pool returned. So, whenever he came near the water, he always thought of the incidents that took place in his life early in the swimming pool. He wanted to get into them. Whenever he did so, the terror that had seized him in the pool returned. His legs would become paralyzed. An icy horror would grab his heart. This handicap remained with him even at times past. So he was always in terror whenever he saw the water. His hands and legs got paralyzed whenever he went near the water. The haunting fear of water followed him. So, the fear of drowning in the water always followed with him. It ruined his fishing trips. It deprived him of the joys of canoeing, boating, and swimming. So, because of the fear of water or getting himself drowned in the water, he always kept himself away from enjoying the water sports like canoeing, boating, and swimming. He used every method he knew to overcome his fear. He always tried to overcome his fear, but he could not. Finally, he decided to get an instructor and learn to swim. He went to a pool and practiced 5 days a week and hours each day. So he always tried to go and learn swimming, and he did this 5 days a week, an hour every day. He used the instructor put a belt around him. So, how did he learn to swim? The instructor put a belt around him. A rope attached to the belt went through a pulley on an overhead cable. He held on to the end of the rope. They went on this way for many weeks, and this how he learned how to swim, because the instructor had put a belt around his waist, and a rope was held with a pulley, and in this way he learned swimming for many weeks. On each trip across the pool, a bit of panic seized him, and every time he went into the pool, he was afraid of the water, and this happened for a long time. Each time the instructor relaxed his hold on the rope, and the author went down into the water, and the instructor was teaching him how to swim. So the instructor would relax the rope and allow him to go inside the water. Some of the old terror returned and his legs frozen. But though he was always bound with a rope, he was always in terror of drowning. And each time he went inside the water, his legs got frozen with fear. It was 3 months before the tension began to slack. So it took around 3 months for him to get a bit fearless. Then the instructor taught him to put his face under water and exhale. So the instructor was teaching him how to swim. He repeated the exercise hundreds of times. Very slowly, he shed some of the old panic as his head went underwater. So, in this way, the instructor had taught him how to get rid of the fear. Then the instructor held him at the side of the pool and had him kick with his legs. He did so for weeks. Gradually, his legs relaxed. Thus, piece by piece, he built a swimmer. So, in this way, the instructor made a fearful boy into a good swimmer by teaching him all the techniques of how to swim. When he had perfected each piece, he put them together into an integrated whole, and in this way, piece by piece, bit by bit, the author was taught how to swim, and finally, they put all the pieces together, and one day the writer could swim properly. He had started practicing in October, and in April the trainer told him that he could swim. So it took a long time for him to learn the swimming. He asked the author to drive off and swim the length of the pool. He began with crawl stroke. So, in this way, the author was taught how to swim. When he swam alone in the pool, tiny remnants of his old fear would return. But now he could rebuke his terror. This went on till July. He was still not satisfied. So he went to Lake Wentworth in New Hampshire. There he dived off a dock at Trigge's Island. He swam into 2 miles across the lake to Stamp Act Island. In this way, the writer was gradually learning to swim. Finally, he went alone to swim in a lake. There he dived off a dock at Trigge's Island. He swam 2 miles across the lake to Stamp Act Island. He swam the crawl, breaststroke, side stroke, and backstroke. The terror returned only once when he was in the middle of the lake. He put his face under and saw nothing but bottomless water. He asked terror what it could do to help to him, and it could fled away. So now he was talking to terror that what will you do to me? Some doubt still remained, so he went up the Teton to Conrad Meadows, up the Conrad Trail in mid glacier. He camped in the high meadow by the side of warm lakes. Next morning, he dived into the lake and swam across to the other shore and back. He shouted with joy, and Gilbert Peak returned the echo. He had conquered his fear of water. So, at the end, trying hard, the author could conquer his fear of the water. The experience had a deeper meaning for him. Only those who have known stark terror and conquered it can appreciate it. In death, there is peace. There is terror only in fear of death. Roosevelt knew it. He said, all we have to fear is fear itself. Douglas had experienced both the sensation of dying and the terror that fear of it can produce. The will to live somehow grew in intensity. As Douglas felt liberated, he was free to walk the trail and climb the peak and to ignore fear. So, from this lesson, we have learned that how we can overcome our fear and learn something new. The writer was always afraid of the water, and finally he learned to swim and get rid of the fear from water. As you all must have come across such incidents in your life when you must have first time tried to learn the bicycle and you often fell down. Did you stop learning to ride the cycle? I don't think so. You must have got hurt many a times, but ultimately you learned how to ride the bicycle. In the same way, you must have tried to learn the motorcycle. You must have failed for the first time, for the second time, but finally you have learned how to ride the motorcycle and the bicycle. So, this lesson teaches us how to overcome our fear and how to get rid of the fear and learn something that we always fear. So, I think this lesson teaches you a great lesson of your life. Read the lesson carefully, you will understand it and you will try to learn some lesson from this chapter. Thank you, Goli.